All right, hello and welcome. How's everyone doing on what I hope is a fantastic, what is it, Monday, July 15th? How you doing, Jeff?
I'm pretty good. And you just mentioned the date. This is my parents' 57th wedding anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary to the Franklins.
Indeed.
It is not an auspicious date on my end. Been a
Uh oh.
been a nice no, not it's not inauspicious. It's a nothing date for me. Uh, just been a nice.
Okay.
I did say that somewhat ominously. No, it's just a nice quiet day on my side. But hey to everyone in the
It's good.
chat.
It's good to
We're
have a
going.
quiet day.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Took the kids out swimming, and they had VBS at our sending church, so just a nice day.
You didn't lose them, did you?
No, I'm not allowed to teach at this one, so it's interesting, and I'm pretty. I mean, that sounds so hard. Matthew's not allowed to be a leader at a church. What on earth happened? What do you do? What did you do, Matthew? Nothing, nothing. So unless you are a member of that church, you're not allowed to serve. And even
Gotcha.
though they're the church that planted my church, we're legally two separate entities, and so like they don't allow us to go back and forth. It's no, you are a member of that church, serve at that church, and so yeah, it's man, I am not saying things well today, which spot on for my usual modus
It
operandi.
it's all downhill from here.
It is. It is. This is peak. I mean, I'm here. I'm fresh. Just had a cup of green tea, ready to go for the evening. It just goes downhill, everyone. But hey, how is everyone doing? Josh Street is here. Glad to see you here. Omnicast, the Trek reviewer, Mr. Lindell's Groovy Movies. Let's see. Memphis the Sky, glad you're here today. Bradley Briggs, how's it going, man? Texas, glad you are with us as usual. Trevor Lorne. I don't know why, but the R to L, that's a hard transition for me for some reason. So I'm just going to stop at Trevor. Great to see you. And Joe Miller, hey, how you doing, man? And
Oh, and
Patrick,
Patrick's here.
hey. Yeah, you do need to get back to bed, man. And catch us in the morning. It's like what, 4 in the morning in your neck of the
Something
woods?
like that.
Now, hey, if anyone sees LDG in the chat, like everyone shout until I notice, because I have something specific for him, which I think
Uh
we'll all
oh.
get a kick out of. So it's nothing bad. It is something specific to him. It happened to me this week, and I'm hoping he shows up at some point today. He usually drops in to say hi, so I want to make sure. So if he drops in and says hi, everyone also spam him. Say, hey, stick around until Matthew notices the chat. He has something to say. So I got something
I'm
to say to
surprised
you,
he's not
LDG.
here.
Yeah, I hope he's doing all
He's
right.
usually here. Yeah, he's usually here before we start.
Omnicast wanted to know: is my church a member of the Third Fane of Chodomo? No, no, we're independent or non-denominational. I feel like there's a reference I'm missing on that one.
I'm not sure what it means either, so we're both in the dark.
Texas is saying that's Lanier's clan. Okay,
Oh, okay. That's
and
right.
yes, this is
I forgot about
this
that.
is a two-parter, as people are saying in the chat, and we're
It
only
is.
sorry, only doing the part one this week.
Well, I previewed the episode before this evening, and when it got to the end, I went, I want to watch part two right now.
Yeah, I know, but and I'm sure I'm going to be the same boat, or not clan cast. Yeah, so what was it? So we got an older audience here, right? I actually watched a YouTube video
Hmm.
today. Oh, LDG,
There's
LDG,
LDG.
stick around, stick around. I got a question for you, LDG. A really important question. Do you do you recognize this LDG? Do you remember this LDG? this, this is yes. Okay. This is one of my favorite super chats I do on this channel, which I actually have it worked out so I can hear them and other people can hear them. But one of my favorite ones is we used to do a virtual pub around here during the height of COVID. Everyone's in lockdown. We are all miserable. And StreamYards, we found it and we're like, hey, why don't we have like a weekly get together? It was, I hosted it, and then Michael from the Anti-Trekker of the time, Salty Trekker now, he co-hosted it, and we would just do open mics. People would come up, we'd talk about the nerdum going on that day, talk about past things in Trek, argue, debate. It was so much fun. And one of the times, LDG, he was laughing really hard, and he leaned back in his chair and it snapped on him, and all of a sudden you just see him fly backwards, and he was fine. It was most funny because he didn't get hurt. But today, or not today, it was yesterday, last night, I put my hands on my desk and I push back to scoot back, and I hear a snap, and I go back, and thankfully I was able to jerk forward quick enough such that the base, it broke, but it landed on the ground and caught me from tipping completely over, which there is not much room behind me, so it would not have been fun for me to tip over. No, I didn't get hurt much. Sorry, LDG. But as soon as that happened, I just couldn't stop laughing, thinking about what had happened to our friend LDG. Yeah, and Amy even remembers that. Oh, it's one of my favorite super chats. It's so fun, so fun. Yeah, exactly. Thank goodness for those 5-point caster thingies. So now I gotta get a new one of those. Which who wants to waste money on things like that? I certainly don't. Yeah, that's right, Josh. If I went over, we'd have to have Amy as the host tonight. But thankfully I didn't go all the way back. So instead, I'm in like this crappy little folding chair, which is it's fine, but it's definitely not the nice big chair. Like honestly, the thing that annoys me most about this chair is the plastic feet on it have come off, so it's just a harsh metal tube just right down into my carpet protector. I'll play the clip. So, okay, tell you what, I can redo old super chats. Let's see if we can get it here in a couple tries. Okay, I'll give you a couple tries. What is he doing? Okay, nope, not that one. I should really give this like a higher chance of coming. Yes. Did he just fall down? I think LDG fell out of his chair. Give us a thumbs up, LD. Let us know you're okay. And the thumbs up. Oh, it's such fun times.
That's nuts.
I love that so much. And it's even more fun because like it was so fun to do the virtual pub. I loved getting to do that. We jumped around almost every day of the week to keep that going. It was the Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Monday night virtual pub. I think the last day I ended up on was Monday, and unfortunately I hit the point where things were really crazy at my business, and I basically went dark for like 6 to 9 months working on this project. It was so weird. Like the way it ended was just an absolute nightmare. One of these days I need to do a live stream, like do my old gaming streams and just chat about this stuff. Because honestly, ever since then, I feel like I've been on kind of a back foot, and just trying to get past that nonsense. And thankfully, I'm working at I'm not working for myself anymore. Working for one of my best friends, was a groomsman at my birthday. Wow, groomsman at my wedding. We met through an old room of mine, and just became fast friends. And he is so much better at all the overhead company stuff. Like I'm a severely ADHD. I sit down to put in my time for the week so I get paid, and I end up spending the whole day working because my brain just instantly like jumps tracks onto what I need to be doing. Well, okay, what I need to be doing is putting in my timesheet, but it jumps track onto like programming instead, and that's how my business worked also. And so having him have all that knowledge, it's so great. I can focus on programming and going to job sites, and the fact that he can find these people in his business acumen, I'm glad that we've partnered up now, and that's something I don't have to worry about anymore. At least not yet. Maybe as we get more people, I'll have to start worrying about that again. But at least for now, it's nice to all I have to do is just do the work. I love being able to just do the work. Um, why is Jeff? Why are wearing Jeff's uniform, Matthew? Am I wearing Jeff's uniform?
No, you're not.
Okay.
The bunny cabal thinks that I should be wearing plaid as a uniform.
All right. All right. I'm curious why.
I have no idea. They just came up with this. You're out of uniform, Jeff. They tell me all the time.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I guess librarian classic uniform is plaid. Sure. I'm thinking lumberjack.
Beats me.
You know
Beats
me in
me.
names. And Josh, I love getting to play old gaming streams too. Okay, actually, there's a new game I just got for like 60% off called Astro Near. It's like a dumbed down version of Space Engineers, and I was thinking about playing that and having some fun with it. But see, that's the thing. Like whenever I sit down to play a game, I start to feel guilty because I'm like, you know what? I could be making a video right now. I could be making a Voyager video. I could be making a
You did Voyager videos?
I used to do Voyager videos. Yeah. I could do an over analyzing Voyager. I could do one of my smart home videos, and so I end up doing nothing. So not exactly the best choice on my part, but it's what I end up doing.
I'm gonna have to check your channel. I don't remember those Voyager videos.
I see they were so much fun. There's so much fun things I used to do on this channel, and I need to start doing stuff like that again. I just need to say, you know what, tonight I'm doing this, and it's okay to spend one night doing something fun like that. And honestly, that's something that started back with when I went silent for 6 to 9 months with this job. Everything I was doing, like I knew that this job was doomed the longer it went on, because I was pseudo hired by this company to do work for them, and so they treated me like an employee, but then they didn't give me resources like an employee, and the longer the project went on, the more I realized that what they told me I'd been hired for wasn't the responsibilities they were giving me. And so by the end of the project, they had it in their minds that I was the general contractor for the entire project. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. I was a subcontractor. You hired an electrician to do work. I had to go out there and fix his stuff, which I did just to keep the thing going, because I was working for y'all like 60 hours a week just about. And it was just nuts. And so anytime I would take a break during that time, I would just be overridden with guilt. I'm like, hey, I got this client. They're treating me good. I want to treat them good as well. And so I'm working on getting out of that mindset and just being like, it's okay. It's okay to spend a night and watch Star Trek. It's okay to spend a night and watch. I've been watching House recently. Watch a couple episodes of House. Do a Voyager video. Get back into the swing of stuff like that, because I really enjoyed it.
Thomas says, when Heaven's Gate hires you, you should realize the job won't last.
Heaven's Gate?
The cult that they all killed themselves.
Oh, dark. No. Oh, wow. No, yeah, I watched a documentary on that a couple months ago, and to no one's surprise, forgot the name already. But man,
Surprise.
It's the stuff they did. I feel so sorry for those people. Um, and, but honestly, there's a DS9 episode that kind of went that route with Goldakov.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent
It,
episode.
it was a good episode.
But that's when they started to introduce the paw wraiths.
Oh, they had been introduced before that.
Okay, I knew it was around that time because unfortunately, between the paw wraiths of DS9 and the Ori of Stargate, is,
Right.
was that their name? Ori?
All right. Yeah. On SG1.
They, I don't think they really did come out at the same time, but in my mind, I linked them as being contemporaries with each other. And I didn't really like the plot points of either one of those overly much.
They were about 10 years apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Linked. 100% linked up here. It's real to me up here. So hey,
It is real
to me. So how about that not Star Trek? How about Babylon 5? We got an episode.
We do. We do. And your prediction,
Okay,
remind
so
everyone.
This week's episode is called "A Voice in the Wilderness Part 1." And I don't remember the details of my prediction, but I do like in broad terms, I remember that the name "A Voice in the Wilderness" immediately made me think of what's the Babylon 5 everyone's talking about? That's problem, Stex, is I'm not talking about it. As usual, I've derailed into Star Trek and Stargate. So the name of the episode immediately made me think of the verse from the Bible where people come out to John and they're asking John the Baptist, "Are you the promised Messiah?" And he's telling them no. He says, "What have you come to the wilderness to see? I am a voice in the wilderness proclaiming, make straight the ways for the Lord." And yes, as per usual, my prediction is going to be wrong, I'm sure. So that's what stuck in my mind. And I feel like when you so obviously have a title of an episode referencing a Bible verse, I feel like somehow that's going to have to relate to the episode itself. So I think what we're going to see is that I'm pretty sure I said Sinclair is going to be the only one seeing these different unrests growing. You got the free Mars movement, you got the Earth First movement, and he's going to see all this unrest bubbling up, and he's going to try and call for things to tone down. And we're going to end on a cliffhanger. I believe this is my guess, a cliffhanger that we are now in a state of war breaking out. And in the second part, I think we're going to see him, because he was being proactive in this episode, is able to stop it from completely blowing up on us.
That was essentially what you predicted last week. Yes.
So yeah, we're going to see if I'm right, which I'm pretty sure I'm not.
We'll see.
We'll see. So
We shall see.
let's go ahead and get this going. If you're new here, the way this is going to work is I'm going to bring in the clips like that. And once every 7-ish seconds, I'm going to have a still frame right below here. And it's just going to show you an image, no sound, of the episode we're watching. And that's just so you're on your phone right now, you're out and about, your computer only has one screen, and you don't want to do that weird split screen thing where half your screen is chat and the other half is the video. And you can't really pay attention to either one. You got a reference. If, however, you're in a position where you can have multiple things up, click on that link to SciTube, and that will let you enter my screening room where we can all watch this together. This is only active during the stream. Like, as soon as the episode's over, it's gone. So I'm sorry if you came in late, you're going to miss the beginning. If you missed the stream you're watching afterwards, can't help you guys. This isn't a spot for you to watch Babylon 5 without purchasing Babylon 5 or using some other means to get it, such as going to Tubi TV. You can watch it for free right now on Tubi TV. You can buy it off Amazon, watch digitally. You can watch it on the Apple Store and Google Play. But all those come with a big downside. You can't save it locally. I
Nope.
have yet to see a way that you can buy it on Apple or Google or Amazon and save it locally. So even though you bought it, you don't actually own it. All you own is the ability to watch it from their streaming services so long as it is on their streaming services. Once it's off, you're screwed. Sorry. Instead, save up some cash, buy all 5 seasons off Amazon or whatever video reseller you like, and get a physical Blu-ray copy. 75 bucks off Amazon most weeks here. And it's worth it.
Great image quality, great audio quality. Best way to
So
watch it.
absolutely best way. And I have to say, there's an episode coming up where the Amazon copy deletes 2 scenes for some reason. So I have bought it
It was,
off Google. Hmm?
it was an error, and they never fixed it.
Mm. Why would they? I mean, they got your money already. So
Right.
so I bought just a copy of that episode off Google, and that's when I discovered no, you can't, like, I can save it to my phone, but I can't access that file. Like it's broken up to lots of little random chunks. It's not really an MP4 file or anything like that. So I kind of annoyed, kind of perturbed about that. What can I do? Answer is not much. Exactly, Mr. Lindell. Physical media rules. So,
Indeed.
highly recommend it. And because you know what, this is the first time ever I watched this show. I'm a big fan of it. We are coming up to the end of the first season. I can't wait to start the second season and see where this goes.
Oh, this just gets better.
It's worth it. It's so worth it. And honestly, I know I've said this before, guys, but cancel the streaming stuff. Just buy physical media. Like for the cost of the streaming services after a month or two, you can own it outright. Do you get to watch it each week live? No, not unless you want to sell the C's at that point, or just pay like a $1.99 for each episode as it drops individually off Google Play or something. But I mean, come on, you're better off just buying the physical media when it comes out.
Texas has a good question. Will we have a wrap up for the first season, or will we just go on to the second season?
Ooh, that is a great question. So traditionally, when John DeMarco and I did this with Sequest, we did a season wrap up. We did I think we did our 3 most favorite episodes and our 3 least favorite episodes. And to be fair with Sequest, since they were more episodic, it lent itself more toward that kind of review. Because, I mean, still, my favorite episode, hands down, from season 1 is an episode about Krieg. It's a total comedy. He thinks he has this gem, this glowing gem, and it ends up being a giant whale or giant squid poop, basically. It's just hilarious. But with Babylon 5, I think we can do something similar to that. We will do. I think we can do at least some sort of postseason analysis.
When you get to season, like the end of season 2, especially into season 3, it's really hard to do a wrap up because it is just a continuous story by that point.
Hmm.
It goes
Okay.
from one episode to the next. It builds on itself pretty much. It's very much not episodic at that point.
So we'll see what we can do at that point. But I think for this season at least, I don't know. Maybe Jeff and I can just we'll talk about it. It might be an offline thing where we just kind of do where are we at the end of the season? Where do I think it's going? How we saw the characters grow. We'll fill it out. We'll fill it out.
Joe Miller has a good suggestion. We can do predictions for the following season. Now, for me, really can't do predictions because I already know what happens in season 2. I've seen the whole show several times, so I don't think it's going to change for me.
Yeah, the glowing stuff. It was kind of in the midpoint of the season for Sequest, and he found this glowing. He thought it was this glowing gem, bioluminescent, and it ended up just being squid poop. It was a giant squid, and it lost its bioluminescence after a short time, and then it just started to reek. It was hilarious. Yeah, we want to see how wrong Matt can be. I can be very, very wrong.
And we're putting Thomas to sleep again.
Sorry, Thomas. Let's go and we'll go and kick it off for Thomas. I know he has a limited amount of time. Besides, we've done all our intro stuff, so now's the perfect time to kick it off. So I'll give you a quick 3 count. You're watching here in the future and you want to hit play on your own personal media. This will just have you synced up with ideally the clips below, assuming you're already past any intro that comes on the DVD and the episode is just queued up to start right now. So go ahead and on the count of 3, well, 3 then go, hit that play button. 3, 2, 1, go. Which I realized I counted backwards and I said I'd count forward, but what can you expect from Matthew?
Why we love you.
Okay, so the 2 guest stars for this week, which it's interesting. They say guest stars, like there's so many people I noticed just getting to the point where I can write down the guest stars' names that they don't include. Like there's a lot of uncredited people.
There are.
But I think we just saw Louis Turine. And he played. No, it wasn't Lewis. It was Kurt. Who was it? Kurt Lowe. I don't think we just saw Kurt Lowe. Kurt Lowe has played in an incredible amount of stuff. And I think he must have died shortly after 2013. He was a pretty old guy. But looking back through his what do you call it? Career, his list of credits,
Filmography.
Yeah, it is an amazing amount of like just 1 and 2 offs of stuff you would have seen probably like the 1983 miniseries V.
Oh, there he is. Thank you, Josh Street.
Or something DJ really enjoyed, The Greatest American Hero. He was in a one-off episode of that.
Great show.
So what's going on underneath that dirt is a giant explosion.
Explosion, beam, something.
Jerry Boldy's a telepath.
And a stalker, apparently.
Mr. Lindell is saying this episode exposes a gaping flaw in the concept of the show, I think. We'll talk about it at the end. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm intrigued, Mr. Lundell.
Bradley's saying Matthew's like that human born off-world that returned to Earth. He's human, full 100%, but you can tell something's off. Who, Peter Quill? No, Peter Quill was on Earth. He just grew up off Earth.
There are a lot of good comedy bits in this story.
Okay, so seeing the ship crash toward a planet, it makes me wonder if instead this episode is going to be more like the desert crossing episode of Enterprise. Okay, in that episode they didn't crash on the planet in Desert Crossing.
No,
they were the guests of someone, right? And then they had to flee when the compound was attacked because he was trying to use their name to turn the screws on someone. Like he ended up being kind of a mafia guy. Oh no, they didn't crash. Good for them.
No, They haven't crashed.
I don't have John locked in my basement, Josh. I'm in Texas. We don't have basements.
No, we don't.
We should. We're in Tornado Alley. We really need some
Yeah, no,
basements.
no kidding.
Okay, so the power surge has knocked out their ability to come back,
Yes.
but they're not in danger.
Now, I don't know if you caught it. They went down to investigate seismic shocks happening on the planet.
Mm-hmm. And instead of a laser being hit them from space or into space, from
Something
the
hit 'em.
planet to space. It's hard for me to take Dolores seriously that she doesn't know things. Like
Oh,
just as we see more and more of how much she does know, it's hard for me to be like, "Oh, what's this? A giant laser beam from a planet?" Hmm.
well, she's not all knowing, despite what Joel says.
Yeah, she is Satai. She is Satai. Okay, so they think it's just an automatic response.
No, I don't think they're orbiting SETI Alpha 5.
SETI Alpha 5 was earlier in the season, was it not? Or are we crossing
That's
genres?
that's a Star Trek reference.
Was that the Arsenal
SETI,
planet?
SETI Alpha 5, where Khan was
Oh,
marooned.
okay. Oh, don't be so surprised, Thomas. We all know I'm not going to get names. Frankly, we should all be impressed I can even remember Khan at this point. At some point, I'm going to have like dementia and no one's going to know. Like, they're going to be like, I don't know. Grandpa has always been like that. That's weird. Londo got Dolores' name wrong. So, throughout the season, uh, Jakar and Londo's people have been increasingly like I understand they started off antagonistic, but it seems like they've become increasingly antagonistic throughout the series so far, or throughout the season.
I think they're just building that up. I mean, remember, uh, the Centauri occupied Narn for over a century.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, leading up to a crisis, perhaps, as Texas. I think so, maybe. Like it does seem like they have been building up. Like at the beginning of the season, they were antagonistic toward each other, but they'd work. And now it just seems like they are openly hostile toward each other. I mean, I guess Londo really kind of tipped the scales when he wouldn't give the seeds to Jakar, or the plant to Jakar. Hey, Opal Madu, how you doing today?
Welcome, Opal.
Okay, so she was just saying that this signal is coming out at regular intervals. Is that what they're calling the giant beam of light that caused a power surge on the shuttle?
Yes.
Ooh, no word from Mars today.
Just a glitch.
Sinclair's being a little blasé about that. Must be the sense.
He's being optimistic.
Quickly, what is that's such a professor greeting? Is he the first one we've seen with a beard from the Dolores' race?
I'm not sure. I never
I,
thought of it.
I feel like he is.
Josh Street says yes, he is. So I'll take that as a yes.
Like it doesn't matter. It's just one of those things where, um, one of those quick visual clues that people often do in makeup departments. Like this race doesn't grow facial hair. Uh,
Texas also says he believes it is.
so it's just interesting that they're like, nah, no, they can do beards. We just haven't so far. Honestly, it's probably just the guest star was like, I'm not shaving my beard this role. Sorry.
Omni's correct. We've seen this actress before on Babylon 5. She played on Star Trek The Next Generation, a
Okay.
Brit security minister, Lauren, on TNG.
And sure enough, there's trouble on Mars. Derek Mobotabwe. All right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, Omni. He doesn't look like a Mobotabwe. But, I mean, this is pretty far in the future. I mean, who's to say that we don't kind of thin out bloodlines in the future? Makes sense.
Oh.
Would that be a voice? A voice
Well, it
calling?
sounded like a voice. And
I mean,
welcome,
unless he's
Arabic.
hallucinating.
Well, that's a possibility as well.
Hey, Arvik, how you doing today? At first, I thought Kosh had come into his quarters. Oh, he was born on Mars. And Garibaldi, too, I guess.
Garibaldi for a different reason. We'll find that out here in a few.
Oh, is that his niece's there again?
Not his niece.
Hmm. Okay. I thought it was his, well, quote unquote niece. We saw her a handful of episodes back. Had a bad relationship. Got him
Yeah,
to quit the booze in the end.
I, I think that was on. Was it Io? It was one of Jupiter's moons.
Okay, I can legit see someone making that tea pour. You put a
Well,
crystal in the top, enhance the energy, spiritual energy of the drink you're pouring. It also looks like drug paraphernalia, if I'm being honest, with a giant crystal to melt.
Welcome, John.
I like that saying that half truth is the worst kind of lie. It's a concept. Oh, Ducat again.
Yep.
It's a concept I've been trying to teach my children that, like, okay, you told me the truth, but you told me the truth in such a way that you knew I would believe a lie, and that's still a lie. That's true, Texas. Dolores does tell half truths all the time. Okay, so his comments about the Mbari homeworld being not the same world he grew up on. It's that sort of talk strikes me as a bit of coded language, and that might just be modern society creeping in on how I'm judging past episodes. But to me, it sounds like it's somewhat mirroring the same things humans are saying and the Free Mars movement are saying. Like, hey, we should have Earth for Earthlings and Mars for Martians instead of all these other races on there. And just that sort of, well, it's not the place we grew up. It sounds like it's harkening back to, oh, I wish there were just Simbari on Simbari Prime or whatever they call it.
The Mimbari homeworld.
Just don't sell the homeworld. Yes, truth is a three-edged sword. And yeah, Ervik, it does sound xenophobic, which is one of the plot lines that has been going throughout the season so far. But so far, it's really only been, well, I was about to say it's really only about the humans, but I mean, stop and think for a second. The Londo has been wishing that the Centauri had their former glory and that he could wipe out every last Narn. Jakar has the same desire, except he wishes he could wipe out every last Centauri. Like there is actually a lot of xenophobia going on from all the races.
There is.
I mean, it's not as overt as the way they've been presenting it with humans, where it's like, oh no, we want Earth first. We are the Earth forced movement. Uh, but the language is there. I hadn't thought about that. Sorry, Garibaldi. No communications for you. Yeah, time for back channels. Are we going to see the praying mantis guy again?
Hmm. I believe we're going to see Garibaldi has some back channel, or at least he think he does.
Okay, so it's interesting that Sinclair is called. So Londo was saying, if you find anything, will you tell me? And Sinclair says, oh, it's probably just some automated homing beacon, which I mean, a homing beacon powerful enough to knock or cause a power surge in space is quite the homing beacon.
Just love the physics on those Star Furies.
Yeah. Uh, and then Londo presses it. And he's like, "Well, if you find anything, will you tell me?" And Sinclair's, "No." Oh, yeah, I enjoy. Okay, um, little things that I really appreciate. Her glance at his hand right there. Like anyone who grabs your arm would elicit that kind of like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But I like the way that she specifically reacted, simply because with the telepaths, they do have an aversion to physical touch because that makes the
Hmm.
readings more powerful.
Yeah.
Which was, I don't think we talked about that, but in the last episode, no, 2 episodes back, um, when they brought in Jeffrey Combs, I liked how every time he went in anywhere, like he was private and went anywhere at all, they always focused on him putting his glove back on.
Yes.
Because I like how that's the sort of thing where it's uncomfortable. He doesn't like wearing the gloves. He likes being able to take the gloves off. And it's only when he's around people that he has to wear them. Just this permanent sign of separation that he has to do so he
Oh,
can exist near other people. Just one
Psychor
of those nice,
rules.
yeah, one of the rules.
Yes. Now
Just one
I
of
don't know
those
if you
nice
caught.
attention to detail things.
I don't know if how much of this you caught.
Uh, just Mike saying he needs to talk to his ex-wife.
Well, they weren't married. They talked about marriage.
So he knows that they have the Psychor has access to a piece of technology that's supposed to be classified, and it is, but Garibaldi gets it anyway, or knows about it anyway. And he wants them to use this device to open a channel so he can get in communication with someone.
Well, they have a base on Mars that's classified, but he
Ah.
knows about the base.
I'm just saying they're not supposed to have a base outside Earth. That's something they talked about um, during the Iron Heart episode, I think, right?
Josh Street, I don't remember anything saying they couldn't have a base outside of Earth.
Missiles.
Missiles, yes.
Are you a Hitchhiker's fan of the Galaxy by any chance?
I'm not a big fan. I really want to see, or rather listen to the radio show. I hear
Oh,
that's
that
the best version.
that would be fun. Uh, they go to the planet Meagrathea and they get shot out from it by a couple missiles. But the whole time there's an automated recording that's like, "Hey, thanks for trying to visit us. We're super thrilled about your desire, and even though we asked you to leave, you're still on your way. So we're sending you a couple complimentary gifts of missiles."
That's funny.
Okay, so they're saying they're concerned about not having enough fuel to get back. I guess from the way they did the scene
Listen to this.
transitions.
Listen to this.
Okay. That's a good mantra. But someone earlier was quoting that one of the last lines there, the Ivanova is God line.
And of course, she says to God she was just kidding about the God thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted you to hear that.
No, no worries. I was just saying the way they did the scene transition, it made it look like Babylon 5 was like right above this planet or very close to this planet. I was surprised that they were out of fuel so quickly. And then I think someone mentioned Arsenal of Freedom a little bit ago. That was the Star Trek episode I was thinking of,
Okay.
which I enjoyed that episode. I think that was a season 1 episode.
It was a good first season episode.
I bet that place gets its missiles from the same place Voyager does, the unending missile supply room,
Might
which of
be onto
course is
something there.
kept right next to their endless shuttle supply.
Right.
I'd love to know the setup for that joke. The punchline is something about goulash. Must have been a good joke. Water.
Water. This is a good scene.
I do enjoy their relationship. So this doesn't seem like the most winning of conversations for him. Is Londo gonna kiss him? I wanted him to. I wanted I wanted Garibaldi just to grab either side and kiss him right there.
Okay, Josh Street. I have not read the comics.
He went home with the lady who told him it wasn't that couldn't be that bad. He didn't want to wake her up because she had a voice that could curdle fresh milk. And Josh, I didn't know that Babylon 5 had comics.
It does. It also has a series of books.
Did you ever watch Farscape?
Yes,
Do you know they have comics?
I thought they did.
Nando pulling a fast one to get a free
He
beverage.
did. He did. But he spread joy.
Okay, I think that one is Kurt Lowe. Court Lauer. Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Kurt Lowens, that's his name. Oh yeah, yeah, he died in 2017. Man, he's just one of those guys where you look through his filmography and it's crazy. Like, oh yeah, I would have seen him in that. I would have seen him in that. I mean, Matlock, Murder She Wrote, Night Court, Alien Nation, another great sci-fi one.
Good character actor.
MacGyver. I like how they're not going in with the Star Furies after they specifically mentioned they weren't designed for atmosphere travel.
Right.
'Cause unfortunately, there's a lot of series where they would have been like, well, the Star Fury is not designed for atmospheric travel, and then 4 scenes later, they're like, we're gonna do some atmospheric travel now.
This is not Star Trek Discovery.
Text is saying that he's like that with Stellan Skarsgård. Did a bunch of stuff for years before he knew his name. Yeah, Mr. Lindell. Strange how none of us have ever done watch parties for Alien Nation. Uh, it was an interesting show, but it's definitely not one I'd be like, oh, let's do a watch party for this. It was a lot more mature than other
It was.
sci-fi shows at the time.
Yeah, that's right, Omni. Star Trek Discovery is not a smash hit. You're completely correct.
Fair point. Unwilling to grant him access since he suspects, but that's not necessarily the same as knowing.
Apparently so, Texas. EarthGov does know about this facility.
Oh, Alien Nation people's heads are too pointy? Is that what you're talking about? No, that was Coneheads. One of those weird early 90 movies. Late 80s. 93? I feel like Coneheads was a 93.
I don't remember when that came out. It was in the 90s, I'm pretty sure. Couldn't tell you which year.
Let's see. Coneheads, 1993. Nailed it.
Good
Dan
job.
Aykroyd, Jane Curtin. Okay.
Uh-oh.
It's not a race that immediately jumps out as familiar to me.
No, I don't think we've seen it.
An ood.
An ood. Kind of does look like an ood. Death trap. Yeah, I imagine it would.
Yeah, Mr. Lindell, Coneheads did better as SNL sketches than a movie. It's hard to take what's supposed to be a couple minute sketch and turn it into a full length movie. It's a good thing this artificial hallway had a couple of convenient stones.
Yeah, yeah, that's rather convenient. Ooh,
Oh, I'll work with it though. I mean, you gotta have a little convenience.
sure.
I mean, it's not the what do they call it? The clappers from uh, Tim Allen Star Trek spoof, Space
Oh,
Quest,
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a what do we got? Computer arc. I could see it being one of those genetic arc places.
It's big. They built all new sets for this episode down on the planet. They're not redresses or anything. They're all new.
Do, 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 do.
This is a good scene too.
Studying Earthers. I try to study all I can about them to make them make sense, but it never comes together. When the Bow Breaks, Rockabye Baby. Okay. Like I said, he's talking about these humans, they have marvelous music, but what's the song they sing to their children for generations? The Hokey Pokey. I've been studying that song for 7 days, but it doesn't mean anything. Ervik, did this
Yes,
come out
yes.
around the same time as DS9? Yeah. A couple years after DS9 started?
Yeah, they did come out about the same time.
A little bit of drama around that. Fun drama. But what was Dolores saying? Trust me on. Don't ask about what.
Drawl said that he rather liked the song, and Dolores just told him, "Don't go there. Trust her on it."
Yeah, Josh. Hope Londo doesn't hear the Macarena. No, Orville, not like Orville. Like Orville was 100% a Star Trek homage to classic Trek. You know, Seth MacFarlane saw New Trek, didn't like New Trek, did an homage to classic Trek. Uh, there's some beef around Babylon 5 and DS9 because the show creators went to Paramount first show them a lot of the concept for Babylon 5. Paramount said, we don't want to make this show, but then they made a Star Trek show that used a ton of the resources from Babylon 5. So, I mean,
Similar concepts.
yeah, they definitely took the idea of Babylon 5 and turned it into a Star Trek show. So that it's very much not at all what they had in mind with Babylon 5. But there's definitely a lot of inspiration taken.
That's right, Joel. He did give him the plan for the entire show in the show Bible. You're right about that.
Yeah. Now, yeah, so let me clarify. When I say he gave them the concept, what I'm trying to say is like Deep Space Nine is not just a carbon copy of Babylon 5. Babylon
No.
5 doesn't work in the Star Trek universe. They definitely took a lot of the concepts and they Star Trekified it, such that it became its own distinct thing really after the first season, in my opinion. Well, based on what I've seen so far. I can only comment on the first 22 episodes, 18 episodes, whatever we're up to now.
They are very different, Mr. Lundell. Yes, I agree. There are a lot of similarities. They're not the same, but they're kind of similar.
Okay, so not Sinclair, but we do have someone warning about an upcoming death of all their people. No, you can't copyright space exploration, but there are there are definitely like, hey, we can see that you took this concept and took that, put a Star Trek spin on it, and called it a day. But that said, I think like I don't think that means these shows are so incredibly different that neither one of them detracts from the other. The fact that Deep Space Nine exists didn't cheapen Babylon 5. The fact that Babylon 5 exists doesn't cheapen Star Trek. And there's certainly been a lot of times where I've been like, wow, this episode reminds me of this episode of Babylon 5 reminds me of that episode from The Next Generation or TOS or Enterprise. Well, I can't really do the Enterprise one. I can only talk about things that came before. So I don't think Babylon 5 ripped off TNG or TOS. There's certain concepts that are common across sci-fi. Yeah, it's okay, Joel. Fair point. Come up with a show like DS9 and CBS will very clearly explain their opinions of copyright to
It's
you.
big.
Oh, okay. Hum, hum,
And there we go.
hum. Is that planet right next to Babylon 5?
It's in orbit of Babylon, of the planet.
Did Babylon 5 move?
It does have maneuvering thrusters, but it can't move out of orbit. It
So,
isn't movable.
so Babylon
in that
5,
regard.
not like Deep Space Nine, which can move. So Babylon 5 has been around this planet since the beginning.
Yep.
Okay.
The idea of its location, of the station's location, is that it's a neutral territory about equidistant from Minbar, Centauri Prime, uh, Earth, and Narn, and presumably also the Vorlon homeworld.
Hmm. So it's just that the planet hasn't responded to Babylon 5 because it hasn't come that close to it. It's only once they were curious about the planet, they wanted to do research on it, and once
Well,
that
they did research because there were earthquakes going on, or planetary quakes.
okay. Yes. All right.
Spoilers, Joel. Spoilers.
Mr. Lindell is saying, why isn't there any controversy about Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Sequest? Uh, in his opinion, Sequest ripped off Voyage. Oh, see, I I don't know, man. Like I've said this before. I don't care that Deep Space Nine took some liberties and let me phrase this better. I can already see people getting mad about what I was about to say because it wasn't being well framed. I care in that Paramount, CBS, whoever it was at the time, they didn't treat JMS right. Like it is not okay for a guy to lay out all this stuff before you. Say, here's where I want to do. I got the station. I got this wormhole device that it's right next to. I've got these characters. I got this stuff going on. Here's this story arc. It's not okay to be like, we don't want to pay you for the idea you came up with, but we do want a new Star Trek show. And we're going to take all this and just make a Star Trek show. That's dirty. Beyond that, I don't care in that, like I just said, Deep Space Nine existing doesn't detract from Babylon 5. Um, it is different enough where they're incredibly different things. This almost the same difference as Sequest and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I think the only reason people are as pissed off as they are about it is because of the human element where they can say, hey, that was really dirty what Paramount, CBS, whoever did. And that's what got people up in arms about it. Like if this had been like two shows came out at the same time, there had been zero interaction, I don't think anyone would have raised a peep. I don't think anyone would have been like, oh hey, Deep Space Nine came out a year after. It didn't. I'm just saying as an example. Deep Space Nine came out a year after Babylon 5, and look, they have a wormhole and they have a space station. They're ripping them off. Like the controversy would have been so minimal. I think it's only because people understood that behind the scenes, Paramount had done JMS dirty, just plain simple, and I think that's what got people so up in arms.
I don't know if I agree with you on that, LDG. I don't think B5 saved DS9. I think DS9 was pretty secure even without Babylon 5 because it was a Star Trek property.
And Joel is saying that Paramount actually tried to bury Babylon 5. Well, that certainly wouldn't have helped matters. But,
I think they actually tried to do that. I agree with that.
okay, see, and there's another thing. Like, if they had just, if they had just ignored it, like, hey, yeah, we kind of stole from you. We're just gonna pretend like that never happened. A lot less drama. The fact that they stole from them, went out and tried to bury them after that. Oh, how dumb can you be? The answer is pretty dumb, apparently.
As we go along, I think you're going to see more and more similarities between the two shows and a lot of dissimilarity as well.
That said, if I didn't know the drama, like I see Deep Space, like from what I've seen so far, Deep Space Nine is very distinct from Babylon 5. I can see the overlapping elements, yes, but there is a world of difference between these two genres in terms of uh,
No doubt.
motivation, settings, high sci-fi versus more sci-fantasy. For the record, Star Trek I call more sci-fantasy. It's not the most, like, it's more toward the high fantasy than high sci-fi, especially as time progressed more and more. They kind of got away from TOS being this could totally be our future into more of like, I don't know, there's quantum going on, and it slowly became more and more sci fantasy. Certainly nothing to the level of Star Wars, but
No.
definitely more than Babylon 5 is. Like Babylon 5 isn't the highest of high sci-fi I've ever seen, but it does tend to, so far, lean toward being there's physics and reality, and we're dealing with
A
how the universe actually operates, and how would a ship
little
fly
more.
in space and maneuver. Yeah. Uh,
It's
so
a little
it
more gritty.
definitely,
It's a little more dirty.
yeah.
Yeah, more realistic.
Yeah, Worf saved DS9. I mean, he certainly injected some fresh blood into it, but I enjoyed it. Look, I this is probably this isn't as bad as my code of honor uh admittance. I liked Move Along Home. I'm sorry. I'm sorry y'all had to find out this way. I liked Move Along Home. It was silly. It was nonsensical. I even liked Alan Moraine. Uh,
Well, Matthew, I have to agree with you. I kind of like the episode myself as well. It wasn't as bad as its reputation. Even the
the
song.
yeah. So I don't like. While Worf helped out, I think DS9 was doing just fine. I think it had solid characters, and more than Worf, I think that O'Brien is what got DS9 going. The
Oh,
O'Brien
yeah.
and Bashir, once they got that dynamic going, they really figured out who their characters were.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those two characters were dynamite together on that show.
Oh yeah, it's something I think it's just naturally happened. But once you had O'Brien and Bashir worked out, the other characters really fell into who they were as well, and the entire series just blossomed after that. And that was the episode where Keiko didn't know that O'Brien drank coffee in the afternoon.
Yes.
uh, but but that episode, like I enjoy a lot of DS9 before that, but that episode really cemented, in my opinion, what a lasting series this was going to be. It got out of the we're using budget cameras stage, because all Star Trek starts off with mm, I'm sorry, I'm immediately I recognize how wrong that sentence was. TOS, or not, TNG and DS9 and Voyager all started off with this I don't know what cameras they're using. They're like daytime soap opera cameras or something. And there's a quality, like you can look at the graininess of the film and the set design. It's very like, hey, we're not going to invest too much into this show. But by the time you got to that episode of DS9, like they really upgraded the set design, they upgraded the recording quality, like everything just became a little bit more polished. Yeah, Arabic. My favorite episode is Farpoint Encounter. Exactly. That.
Code of Honor, our point and encounter. I bet another one is Justice. I bet you love Justice.
Oh, oh. How can I say enough about Justice? And anyway, speaking of episodes that had massive gaping plot holes, and you wonder how on earth this society could exist, and Mr. Lindell, you said that this episode of Babylon 5 had kind of a plot hole in it. Um, I'm curious what that
I,
plot hole was.
I'm curious about that.
Or does it only appear in part two? So if it appears in
Well,
part two, we'll have to wait a week to find out. But if it already was laid out in part one here, I'm quite curious. Melphis this guy was
um,
wondering after all this stuff he's done, why was Quark never kicked off and banned from the station? Well, the very first episode kind of talks about that. Quark wanted to leave, but Cisco needed him. He needed this to be a family station, and he needed Quark and his bar to keep people coming in and keep merchants from all bailing out. So he blackmailed him. He blackmailed Quark first episode, and after that, they kind of got into this uneasy alliance where Cisco needed him and Quark needed Cisco. It's kind of like I mentioned earlier. I've been watching House. Like, why wasn't House ever fired? Like, you have to suspend disbelief just a little bit and accept that, well, they never do anything too insanely egregiously bad, and so they get away with their scandalous behavior. So yes, we all know Quark is doing illegal stuff, but we've never overtly caught him in the act, and so legally we can't get rid of him. And a few times we have caught him, well, he did it for a good reason, so we're going to let this slide.
Mr. Lundell says that the planet was not fully explored. He thinks that's a plot hole. And I disagree. The fissure didn't form until this episode that exposed the base underneath. And with all that technology down there, we saw it was probably shielded from scanning from orbit, or even if they went down to the planet surface.
So I
It
was
was
actually
five.
making.
It
Hold
was
on.
5 miles down.
Uh, I actually was leading up to that kind of question, Mr. Lundell. I was
9.
curious how Babylon 5 could be in orbit around this and never trip off the security, never trip off the signal going out. But like Jeff just mentioned, it's precisely because the earthquakes hadn't happened exposing it. Like once the fissure was opened up, that's when the signal became active. That's when we started to investigate things. And that's when the missiles came up. Until that fissure opened up, it didn't matter how many times it seems like they flew over it, it wasn't going to respond to their presence.
Mr. Lundell says it made no sense that they knew nothing about the planet. I disagree with that statement because they did state that they did have surveys of the planet prior to this episode, prior to the station being put there.
And Texas raises a good point. Even if the fissure had been there until the earthquakes, it was a tiny opening. How are they supposed to find something like that on the entire planet? Precisely because this isn't Star Trek. They can't do a planetary scan and know everything about the planet. Like it's a much more planets are big places. Like
They are.
I mean, we have places on Earth, like we've taken photos of everything, but there's places where we know nothing about it still.
We know more about the surface of the moon than the bottoms of the oceans.
Yeah. So I can accept that if you're grounding a sci-fi series in more toward the real, where we can't just do a high orbit and scan the whole planet, and we find on the opposite side of the planet there's this 1 square foot that's inexplicably warmer than the rest of the planet. So let's go investigate it. It's very much a hey, we're doing passes of this planet. We're in orbit. We have to use this scanner to scan for this specific thing. Like we can do temperature scans and maybe we can do some energy scans, but like we can't just do a sweep and get all the information we want from it.
Joel says that the alien kept saying, "Help me." Obviously, there were problems. He was having problems, and we don't know why he was there. If he was put there against his will.
True. True. He could have been in prison for all we know. Like, hey,
Ivanova did say they don't know anything about him.
well, that's neat. Josh is saying that they found a cave that had been closed off to the outside world for thousands of years until 2019, when an earthquake opened up an opening. That's fascinating.
Hmm.
And honestly, I could see that place being a prison. I don't think it is, but I could see that sort of security where, uh, like, imagine your most dangerous criminal. You put him in a jail. He's in this quasi state of suspended animation. Anyone who approaches it without property clearance gets missiles thrown at them because they assume you're trying to break out this incredibly dangerous guy. I could see it. I could see it. I don't think that's what this is. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think
Well,
this is gonna end up being a prisoner.
how did he project his appearance on the station? He appeared to both Londo and Sinclair. How did he do that?
Oh, so he was hooked up to a lot of machinery,
Was
and it was a lot of pretty looking machinery. A lot of it looked like a giant computer of some sort. So either he is some sort of super telepath, and the machinery was either allowing him to boost his telepathic abilities or keep him alive and monitor the universe at large, or the machinery allowed him to send out a holographic message. I lean toward the former. I think that somehow this planet is a listening post. Uh, you mentioned earlier, or someone mentioned earlier, that Babylon 5 was chosen precisely because it was equidistant from these five major races. That is what I call a
in
strategic position in the universe.
neutral space, no less.
So, a prisoner video visit. I could see, I could
The
very much
neutral
see
zone,
a,
somebody says.
I could see this being a
And,
listening post.
and I find it quite interesting. John, on his Jeopardy show this past Saturday, he had a category of other sci-fi planets, and one of them was this planet. And this is the first time we actually got the name for this planet, Epsilon 3.
Oh, so,
So that was good timing, John.
yeah. So, Jeff, what are you? I've been all over the place. What are your thoughts about the episode?
Well, we got a lot going on in this episode. We have the Mars issue heating up. There's been open rebellion there. We find out Psycor has a base there. We see Talia talking to someone on that base, so we know that they're off of the planet Earth. You know, they're not solely on Earth, and they have secret bases, no less. So that's interesting as well. We learn a little bit more about the Psycor. Um, Great comedy from Londo. Londo is just the star of this episode, I think. I think anything he is in pretty much is just a jewel of a scene. So Londo is quickly becoming, if this was my first time to watch it, when I did watch it the first time, he became one of my very favorite characters. I just love Londo.
They
I
say
love
the hokey pokey is what it's all about, but I assure you, it is nothing. It is nothing.
and we have Ivanova. She just keeps developing her character. The Babylon 5 mantra: Ivanova is always right. I will always listen to Ivanova. I will not ignore Ivanova's recommendations. Ivanova is God. And if this ever happens again, Ivanova will personally rip your lungs out. You just get a lot of her personality. It's just a great character. And we get to learn more about Epsilon 3 and what's down there. we're starting to see what's down there. So a lot going on. I think things are heating up in this universe. We're coming to the end of the season, and it's just building, and it's getting exciting. Looking forward to part two. What's coming through the jump gate?
Yeah.
We
Uh,
didn't
we
see it.
we were. It's gonna be big. Whatever it is, it's big.
It's not quite the level of Mr. Worf fire, but you got Garibaldi looking out and saying, "What the?" And it's the da 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 to be continued.
So let's see. Other things
It's
we
a
went
Borg
over in
cube,
this.
says Omni.
So we did get our voice crying in the wilderness.
We did.
It was not Sinclair. I'll give myself a 30% on this one because it was definitely. They ended it with, "Your race and every race is in danger. You need to help me." Or all,
Well,
not every. Excuse me, not every race. All your races was what he said. Your race and all your
did he
races.
did he say that? I thought he just said that you're all going to die.
Is that what he said?
Somebody in chat, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I thought he just said that you're all going to die, which I took to mean that the station was in peril.
Let's see. I can I can go back real quick.
Did
So
he say that, Josh? That all the species were in danger?
okay, so they're getting them out. Uh, it would have been before the commercial break.
You're all in danger, but did he say species? All your species are in danger. I just took that to mean that the station was in danger. Everybody on the station was going to die because the station's right there in orbit.
Maybe that's all it was. I'm not hearing him speak. All your people, all your people will die. Okay, that's more
I, I
nebulous.
guess I guess you could take that either way. I took it to mean that everybody on the station was going to die.
Okay.
Omni says ship out of danger.
Yes. How did it? Yeah. Okay. So he says, "Help me or your people, all your people, uh,
So you
will
could take
die."
it either way, I suppose.
It's certainly. I will say it's a more direct interpretation that it's going to be Babylon 5. Simply because we end the episode with the jump gate opening and something big coming through
Josh Street says big boom tomorrow because of no boom today.
it. So this is a new race. We haven't seen this guy before.
No.
So here's my guess, and I'll wrap this into my guess for part 2 next week.
Okay.
I feel like this is a listening station. I feel like this guy's role is to monitor the species in this part of our universe or galaxy. So, yeah, we're not multi-galaxy, or we don't go all over the universe in this series. We're just in one
No,
galaxy. Yeah.
that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So he's here to monitor the species in this part of the galaxy, and so if we're in danger and he's warning us of danger, it seems like we got the light race, the light aliens, and the shadow aliens. So I would say that maybe this guy is here for the light aliens, maybe a third party that we haven't met yet. And I kind of think that whoever's about to come through that jump gate is probably not going to be the shadow people themselves, but someone strongly associated with them would be my guess. And this guy we is going to argue that we somehow need to stop them from coming through. They haven't talked about it yet. No spoilers, anyone, but I do wonder if you can blow up a jump gate. And that would
Hmm.
certainly be an interesting solution where they blew up the jump gate in order to forestall someone from coming in, but anything of sufficient size can create their own jump points. So that
That's
would
true.
be a stopgap measure at best.
Yes,
If the
Joel Miller,
profits are coming out of the jump
Professor
gate.
getting out of the jump gate.
So next episode, we're obviously going to see a immediate conclusion. I don't think this is going to be a true conclusion. I think this will address the issue at hand immediately. But I think it's also, as we solve that one issue, I think we're going to set up further conflict. We're going to set up a further issue going on to be resolved, which I think kind of plays into my idea that we're not going to see the shadow people next episode. I think that by laying down that this is some race that goes ahead of them, kind of like the Silver Surfer. Did you ever know him?
Yeah.
Okay, so the same way the Silver Surfer would go and prep a planet for Galactus.
Galactus. I think
Galactus.
that's how you
I'm sorry,
pronounce
Michael's probably uh, yelling at his screen if he watches this later. He is a big Silver Surfer fan, and Fantastic Four fan. So I apologize to those fans out there. I know I'm getting this wrong. I don't know what else you expect. I get all names wrong. Um,
I'm not a huge Marvel fan, so
so I think this is going to be the people preparing the way, a voice in the wilderness preparing the way for one of these shadow people, maybe another race unaffiliated with them. I don't know, coming through and kind of prepping this area. Uh, this guy that we saw from the planet, he is going to be able to avert the immediate issue, work together with everyone to stop them, so that the even more powerful people can't make a move at this time. Even though they're out there and we've seen them operating, I think we're going to kind of stop him or stop them at this point and forestall their larger coming. But at the same time, that might come. I'm so curious to see how deep they go into kind of mythology territory here, because I could see that the price of victory next week is almost a Pyrrhic victory. That by allowing them to stop these people that we're gonna see, it comes at a cost, and the cost is going to be maybe the free Mars movement succeeds, and now Earth is weakened, or maybe the issue is now Psycor is in a stronger position than they should have been otherwise. Um, so I could see that being the conclusion. And yes, we win, but it came at a really bad cost. And so even though it seems like we're in a good position in the long term, we've set things up for us to be worse off. That's going to be my prediction for part two.
now I
And
will say
yes,
one more thing about part one.
yeah,
It moved incredibly fast. It was very well paced, and it had a lot of comedy in it too. It wasn't just pure drama or action,
yeah,
but it just moved very, very fast. It felt like a 30-minute episode when it was really 42, 43 minutes, whatever it is.
yeah. It definitely did not suffer from pacing issues.
No, it didn't.
And it also, man, I don't know. We've talked about the A and B plot stuff. I don't know how many different plots we had in this week's episode.
Well,
It was a
just
lot.
buckle down. Just
Yeah.
buckle down because it's going to be like this most of the way.
But like all the plots made sense. Like the Lynn and her mentor going around
Draw,
and draw. Yeah.
draw.
So we had that plot point going on. We have Garibaldi and his ex plot point going on, and that
At
ties
least
into the Psycor on Mars. You got Free Mars being tied into that, and how their the fight's like a quarter mile away from them. Um, you have what feels like this growing atmosphere of xenophobia Yeah, who's Delin? I used the name right once, sorry. Yeah, I did say actually Delin. I do know her name. I just said it wrong once, and once I mess up, I run with it. Just ask Lewis. So like there were so many different plot points. And so even though a lot of the plot points, I guess the overarching B plot is what's going on Mars. But that individual B plot of what's going on Mars had like 5 or 6 subplots to it. All of which you could say were like C, D, E, F, G, H subplots of the story. But it felt coherent.
And that's why this show is so great, because it does that so well throughout the series.
Yeah, Josh. Who's this guy on the screen with the professor? I don't know.
I don't know. It sounds like Matthew, but I'm not sure it is Matthew.
We actually had that problem this week at a church. The guy who was teaching youth group this week, apparently both my wife and another youth leader both thought I was teaching. And they're like, that's weird. I didn't think Matt was teaching this week. Our voices sound nothing alike, but apparently there's imposter Matts everywhere. I'm trying to take care of them. Apparently there's one right now on your screen messing with your minds. Am I imposter? Am I not? Ooh.
Never a dull moment on your streams, Matthew. Never a dull moment. Josh says it might be Amy with a Matthew puppet and a voice changer.
I think she could pull off a decent Matthew.
Well, she doesn't have to live with you, so.
On the talk of voice imitations, I can do a passable voice imitation for a lot of fictional characters. And Amy actually asked me once, like, why don't I ever try and imitate her voice? And my response was, because I'm not an idiot. Any husband who imitates his wife's voice is going to end up in trouble.
It might be one of the smartest things you said.
I have my moments. I'm like a broken clock. I'm right every once in a while. Well, guys, Jeff, you have any other thoughts as we wrap up tonight?
We're just on a roll here. First episode of 4 out of the last 5. They're just going to be really, really good. And the other one is pretty good on its own right.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with Jeff and I. We look forward to seeing you next week at the Hour of Scampening for part 2 of A Voice in the Wilderness, where we find out just how off my rocker wrong I am on my predictions.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Take care. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. And be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.